Hello and welcome everyone back to Bortnik's YouTube channel. My name is James Talberg and I'm again here with my colleagues Ruslan Bortnik and Marina Cherenkova. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello, James.
Thank you for having us.
We have a few things that we're going to catch up on, discuss what has happened in the past week. And I think what we can start with is Trump's speech in front of the Congress. What were the main key points that he was trying to deliver? And what is your perspective over that speech as a whole? Marina, if you can elaborate a little bit more on what has happened and what that will influence in the future.
Thank you, James. Mr. President, Trump's speech to Congress was political entertainment, as I called politainment. The main messages were quite simple, and he was very consistent with his program, which was represented earlier during election. What upsets me deeply, that is very clear division between Democrats and Republicans. The United States of America now are going through a very complicated period or challenging period of its history. And I believe that Democrats and Republicans, even now, they have to learn how to be, if not together, but how to start talking to each other. Because that's division, that's aggressiveness, and that absolutely sometimes unacceptable behavior, childish behavior, from my perspective, from the Democrat Party, was really upsetting for the majority of Americans. By the way, the level of agreement and support of Mr. Trump, of President of the United States of America, was around 76% among average Americans, and due to some institutions which are not pro-Trump, definitely. So overall, make America great again. It's going to be a perfect situation where an economic power is going to be back. That's the second message. Third, we are going to be the best because that's what God wants. And that's American exceptionalism, which we all know is the basis for all American politicians. And it doesn't matter whether they come from Democratic Party or from Republican Party. That's basically everything from my side.
Colleagues, I also want to touch base on the situation between United States and Ukraine. Ruslan, it's been a little bit over a week since the conflict in the White House between Zelensky and Trump has occurred. How is Ukraine feeling at the moment in regards to that conflict? And are they changing their perspective, rhetorics, and do they have any strategy to repolish their relationship between Ukraine and the United States?
Of course, this scandal in the Oval Room of the White House had a huge impact on Ukraine in different levels, starting from the military situation and in the internal political stability. We are feeling some kind of disorientation. We are feeling crisis, and we are feeling that we are on the edge of the changes. Maybe now, because after that scandal, Ukraine lost the military support from United States. It was frozen for a non-known time for nowadays. And of course, this absence, even the intelligence support, absence of military supplies, especially shells for artillery, rockets for anti-aircraft system, and so on, weakened Ukrainian forces very much. And we see the consequences of it now in Kursk region, in Donbass. We will discuss it some later. And of course, we see a growing of political life, of political instability inside of Ukraine, because many oppositional politicians which were hiding it, which during the last years of the Zelensky government, Zelensky presidential term, now are trying to to show their presence, to show their ability to continue the policy, and internal political competition inside of Ukraine is also growing up very, very fast. So, moreover, we heard statements from the American administration that even if the President Zelensky will be ready to sign the mineral agreement, it doesn't mean that the United States will restart the military supplies because the United States demand from Ukraine not only mineral agreement but also to sign the ceasefire agreement for the ending of the war. So, in general, Ukraine now is a situation of on the edge of destabilization, military and political destabilization, and we are in very hard position now. Also, because of absence of not only United States but also European support. Europe also showed that its absence of resources and absence of will to support Ukraine, to help Ukraine in this hard time.
Ruslan, can we summarize that with a few technical statements? So first, the subject is the outcome of pause of the military aid and financial aid from the United States to Ukraine have resulted in a loss or decline of Ukrainian military possibilities on the front line. In the technical perspective, in what has that resulted? Are they losing land? Are they losing people? Are they slowing down their potential counteroffensive attack? If we can make a couple of technical statements in regards of specifically the military situation because of the loss or the pause of the military support from the United States.
I will show you very clear that the last military map in Ukraine, and it will be more remarkable and understandable what is going on, especially in Kursk region, which is very hard question for nowadays for Ukraine. This blue dot is a part of Kursk region of Russian Federation, which is under the control of Ukrainian forces, and you can see that 2 weeks ago, for example, just around 2 weeks ago, Ukraine controlled 400, almost 17 square kilometers of these lands, and you can see just now what was going on, and you can see that Ukraine is controlling only 289 square kilometers of this territory. So it means only in this direction. During the last 2 weeks, Ukraine lost near 150 square kilometers of these territories, and it's almost one third of these territories. And Ukraine, of course, lost a lot of position there, settlements there, a lot of people there, and in general, it looks like Ukraine can be kicked off from the Kursk region at all, and this battlefield, this Russian move, will go forward to the Sumy, one of the regional center of Ukraine, to the Sumy region, because Russia gathered here a huge amount of militaries and a huge amount of resources. So this Kursk region platform, which Ukraine was tried to use like a change factor for the possible peaceful negotiation, could become a crisis for Ukraine, additional military crisis for Ukraine. It's only this direction. Very hard development there. And if you will see Donbass, that Russian offensive operation in Donbass is also going on, and during only last week, now Russia is controlling 360 square kilometers of entire Ukrainian lands, and we can see that for the week Russia achieved. Russia is continuing its achievement, and Russia is continuing to offensive operation. Not all even Russian advantages is shown in this map. So this it costs for Ukraine the people, it costs the territories, and of course it costs the entire evaluation of the conflict, the future of this conflict. Where from the when we are talking about it from the external side. If we are talking about the political instability,
but hold on, Ruslan, before we get into the political, just to summarize it, sorry that I'm cutting you off, we can state clearly that because of the paused military aid from US, we have that situation that has occurred in a Kursk region when Ukrainian forces can be potentially fully squeezed out of that region.
Not only because, but absence of military supplies, it makes influence in a few directions.
Can we say that that's one of the main reasons?
Yes, the first direction, of course, it's just technical reasons. We have no enough shells and so on, so on, so on. But the second reason is a mental reason. If Ukraine doesn't help from United States, it means that Ukraine is not able to win this war or even to draw this war.
They're losing the motivation.
And of course, it makes a very hard influence of the motivation, of the mental evaluation of militaries, of political elites, and so on, so on. You like a kicked off kid, and so it works in a few directions at the same time. And I think now we have more even mental impact. Not even the technical military impact, because Ukraine still has a huge storages of weapons, of money, which were made during the Biden's administration. So it's for now it's not so much a technical problem. It's more a political and mental.
So it's the symbolic fact that the United States paused their aid is influencing Ukrainian society, Ukrainian soldiers, and how they perceive the continuation of the war and the conflict. Is that correct?
Yes, is that correct? But I want to add only one thing. Maybe you know that one of the main Russian demands is withdrawing Ukrainian troops from Russian lands. It was a Russian condition to start the negotiation.
To start negotiations
about
or
ceasefire.
for the ceasefire? To start negotiation about ceasefire.
And maybe this absence of United States support for Ukraine in these days is targeting to achieving this condition before the start real negotiation process between Russia, Ukraine, and United States.
Ruslan, I have to ask that question. If one of the main key points for Russians to start negotiations about ceasefire was Ukrainian forces to leave the Kursk region, while they were holding it strong, why haven't they negotiated to leave the region in return for something else from the Russian side and start the negotiations? Because now they're being kicked out without an option to receive something for leaving that region, because they will be forced to do so, if I understand the situation correctly.
Yeah, it looks like now. I saw there was a.
So the question was, why haven't the Ukrainian government if they understand and they want to start the negotiations, and one of the main key points for Russians to start the negotiation for a ceasefire was taking out Ukrainian forces out of the Kursk region, why haven't they by themselves left the Kursk region and asked something in return from the Russians?
Because it's a very political war, and no one is going
wants to go compromises.
No one is going to make a first steps, because the side which will make the first steps toward the peace will be recognized like a defeated side.
Marina,
I just would like to say that sometimes, I'm sorry for interrupting, James.
No, go ahead if you have something to say.
I just would like, okay, that's my assumption. I live in the United States of America, and Ruslan knows better. Definitely, it goes without saying. I would like to bring us back to the actual fact of mental and psychological status, not just Ukrainian army, but overall Ukrainian population. I think that that's not the best situation now for both groups, neither for army nor for population. However, for me, it is crystal clear that Ukrainian government or Ukrainian leaders, they are living in sort of a bubble, which is very far from the reality. And probably I'm wrong, but the same message I receive here from different podcast bloggers, mass media, very popular, and definitely not pro-Trump's media in the United States, when they clearly divide reality from perceptions which Ukrainian leadership has. I would like, Ruslan, to just to use that situation and to ask you, what do you think about that? Because it's complicated for me to make any conclusions. I'm reading just an American press.
I think you are right, but we also need to understand that this bubble is very useful for politicians because this bubble gives them power, gives them money, gives them even partial but external support. So it's a very useful bubble, and it's very useful historical situation for Ukraine. We had many times in our previous history leaders who used such a bubble till the end of the country, till the full immigration, till the full defeating of the country.
Oh,
Unfortunately, I don't think that they don't understand what is going on, but for them,
so they do, right?
they do. But it's more useful for them personally to make impression that the situation is quite different. They are trying to stretch this bubble to all society all the time.
Right. It's sort of like Matrix overall.
It's an attempt to make this matrix, and it worked a long time.
Many times, right? One more question, because for me, it's very, I'm just curious to understand whether it is truth or not. I've been reading news in the morning and about Kursk, and it was said that the Russian army or small group of Russian army soldiers, they made their way through the gas
pipelines, yeah.
Really?
A very huge pipelines, because it's in diameter, it's 1 meter and 40 centimeters. It's very huge pipelines. You are able to walk there, of course, with trying to make.
You have to bend, but it's walkable.
Bend is, but you can use it, of course. And it looks
right.
like Russia used such a pipeline to go deep in behind the backs of Ukrainian army, to send there the best troops, special prepared troops. And it was one of the reasons of this military crisis, which started before. But last day and today, it has much more sharply for Ukraine.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the during all periods of those dramatic and very painful for Ukraine 3 years, everything I've heard from the Ukrainian side, that the Russian army are not very clever, that they are not very equipped, that, I'm sorry to say that, but it's direct speech. Stupid people, useless people, and there is no any good Russian at all. All of them are stupid. So, is it a part of a bubble we've mentioned before, or that is something which I missed from my perspective, being in the United States?
Yeah, and it was we had a lot such a political statements that Ukraine is fighting with the army of homeless person.
Homeless.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
but our militaries standing strictly against it. I saw a lot of Ukrainian officers who said it's not true. You need to shut up. You need to stop this bullshit propaganda and so on. Because if we are fighting with homeless persons and we are
Why
losing,
can't we win?
And we are losing our territory, what we are in this moment. And so I think it was a part of propaganda. Every war has some propaganda when such type of propaganda when you are on the bright side, you are very clever, you are for the best values and so on, and you are fighting against the evil, very poor, very stupid, very old made evil and something like this. In Ukraine, it was the same situation. But to be honest, Ukrainian society believed in it very long time. And even the practical results of this war, even the practical estimation of this war, if we are talking about that Russia captured the territories of Ukraine, which are bigger than middle-sized European country now, even these reasons were not able to bring people back to the reality.
Oh wow. So I totally get it. I mean, propaganda approach during the war times, it's not a new story. It was always like that. But from my perspective, it's really dangerous at this stage, not just for the leadership of Ukraine, but for Ukrainians to live in the bubble, in the illusion that everything could somebody comes from the United States and fixed everything. Somebody pays for all debts. Somebody will fix and restructure and rebuild infrastructure. All those things are delusional. I'm sorry to say that, because I'm very far from Ukraine. I have no right to judge. We help to Ukrainians as anyone did to Ukrainian people. I would like to outline that. But it's time.
You know, this propaganda has in Ukraine a special goal also. If in other wars, this propaganda was used only to mobilize the society, to give the society some kind of confidence. In Ukrainian situation, this propaganda also was a tool for rejecting any negotiations, for rejecting any ending of the war. So in our situation, it has a special additional implication, and it means that waking up for Ukrainian society will be very painful.
I do apologize again, James, but I just would like to ask as many questions as possible because I need to understand and to discuss that with my American friends and colleagues. And Ruslan is the only person who understands that from analytical perspective, without all sort of emotions and fluffy words. He's able to explain me. Ruslan, what is your perspective of the future negotiations between Ukrainians, Americans, and Russians, if any? Because here it's quite a topic which people would like to discuss, but their lack of information and their lack of understanding. What do you think? How it might go? Do you believe in reasonable success, even reasonable success?
United States trying to push Ukrainian administration, Zelensky and his team to take part in these negotiations. And I think now Ukrainian president, who is very famous and very reputational figure in the world, is on the crossroad, or to lead the negotiations and to accept all the all the goals, targets, suggestions from our allies, and to accept some compromises with Russian Federation, or to leave the country, or to be defeated in internal political fights, in situation when for some Ukrainian oppositional forces may become main partners for Trump's administration, and so on. So now he is on the crossroad, and which way he will choose, I don't know. In any case, I'm sure that without United States support, Ukraine is not able not only to win this war, but even to draw this war, to find a balance, suitable balance for Ukraine. So Ukraine, unfortunately, not might, but have to accept this peace very hard, maybe without justice, maybe in the situation when the international law was broken many times, but when Ukraine has to accept this peace for the future of Ukraine, and for the future for Ukrainians. It looks like, for me, it's a question of suffers and a question of time, few months or a few years, but it will be ending without United States support in non-Ukrainian scenario.
Thank you so much, Ruslan. That was very useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for questions.
I don't know if we need to cover anything else, because that was brilliant. That was very good. I think that's the whole point of a podcast, to just make it as natural and organic as possible.
James, I do apologize again for interrupting you, but I need that for my internal conversations with my American friends.
And not just
I'm living here for a decade already. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if it's important for you to understand what is happening here, and you had honest questions, and you were honestly trying to figure out what is the scenario and what's going to be the outcome, most likely most of people in the United States want and have similar questions to understand what exactly is happening and how it will end and result. Ruslan, is there anything else that you would like to add that is important to understand?
I think I will do it exactly the next time, and so friends, don't lose this next time and subscribe for our channel.
Thank you so much, colleagues, and we'll be back with more updates for next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.